Hi everybody, it's Lauren again, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 favorite books that I read in 2018. I shot the first version of this video a few days ago and it turned out terrible, so I had to go back and rewrite it. First up is There Goes Sunday School by Alexander Eberhardt. I only have this as an ebook, so I'm just going to hold up my Kindle. This book is about a gay teenager who goes to a private Christian school in Georgia, and he becomes friends with the son of his church's very homophobic pastor. This relationship, along with a few other changes in his life, makes staying in the closet harder and harder for him emotionally and spiritually. This book does a really good job delving into Mike's internal struggles, trying to reconcile being Christian and being gay at the same time. Throughout a lot of the book, he feels suffocated by his secret and has this deep fear of rejection from the people he loves. And these feelings start to put a strain on his relationships with his friends, his family, and especially with God. This book was difficult for me to read at times because the struggles he was dealing with, his crisis of faith, and wondering if the way he was made was wrong really hit home for me, as I think it will with a lot of gay Christians. And the times when he's legitimately afraid for his safety is just heartbreaking. I really love that the author included Mike's prayers in his internal monologue because it puts his relationship with God front and center, which I think is frequently overlooked. This book is largely about how surprisingly cruel and also surprisingly kind people can be. It's brutally honest and actually very hopeful. I definitely recommend reading this. Next up is Cinder by Marissa Meyer, book 1 of the Lunar Chronicles. This is an homage to the classic Cinderella fairy tale set in New Beijing several centuries in the future. Lynn Cinder, a 16-year-old cyborg, is one of the best mechanics in the city, and one day the crown prince of the Eastern Commonwealth comes to her booth with an android for her to fix, and their lives become intertwined from there on. All of the characters I thought were realistically developed in this book. Prince Kai, for example, is a total sweetheart. He won me over. He does have a lot of room to grow and mature the way you would expect from an 18-year-old. His relationship with Cinder is adorable. I love their chemistry. In this world, cyborgs are considered second-class citizens, so this book does go into institutionalized bigotry quite a bit, mostly in terms of Cinder's abusive stepfamily and her efforts to hide her cyborg parts from other people. But it also touches on the cognitive dissonance people get when there's subjugation so normalized in their society that they unthinkingly participate in it, even if it is technically against their professed ethics. This book has a lot to say about human nature, and I'm excited to read the sequels whenever I get my hands on them. Next up is Failure to Communicate by Kaya Sonderby. This is a science fiction novel set over 2,000 years in the future, when humans are members of the Interstellar Alliance with many other alien species. This story follows an autistic young woman named Xandri Coralel, who is the diplomatic xenoliaison for the starship Carpathia, and she is tasked with convincing a xenophobic species called the Anne Morelli to join the Alliance. Xandri is a truly resilient character, a testament to autism representation. She is an autistic person in a universe of designer babies where genetic engineering has practically eradicated all disabilities, neurodivergences, and other unfavorable traits, but she still manages to thrive in such a hostile society. She's smart, she's curious, she's compassionate, and salty as hell, which I do love in a protagonist. And the author herself is on the spectrum, so we as readers get a realistic view of how Xandri sees the universe and experiences it, along with all of the little differences that make her tick. Alongside that, we also get a front row seat to the inner turmoil from her internalized ableism clashing with her pride. So shame and indignation are warring inside her a lot of the time. One of the things I do absolutely love is she has a lot of relationships on the ship that are very supportive and mutually respectful, especially with her captain, who is an ex-military East Asian woman. The author touched on many controversial topics in this book, which I think is one of the reasons it does not get the love it deserves. But it is dramatic, it is funny, it has a diverse cast of characters, it has themes of empathy, support, cooperation, and compromise. If you just go into it with an open mind, it's a very rewarding read. The fourth book on this list is Clockwork Heart by Drew Pagliasotti. This is a steampunk novel set in a fictional city called Ondinium. Our protagonist is Taya, who is an Icarus, meaning that she is a messenger who flies around the city on giant metal wings. Icari are able to interact with all citizens of every caste as equals. The castes are 3 rigidly divided socioeconomic classes in Ondinium, so Icari are pretty much exempt from the social food chain. When Taya is involved in a freak wire fairy accident, she becomes entrenched in a political conspiracy that may or may not involve terrorism. The backbone of this book is definitely the world building and the plot. It is exquisitely detailed, it's dramatic, it's engaging. I could not drag myself away from this book for very long. It just kept me sucked in. The other characters shine as individual and nuanced characters in their own right, even though they can fit into certain tropes. As a matter of fact, this is the only book that has ever had a love triangle I actually enjoyed. Clockwork Heart is the first book in a trilogy, and I highly recommend reading it. Last but certainly not least is A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. This is a fictional memoir set in a world similar to Regency period England, or possibly Victorian England. History isn't my strong suit, forgive me please. It's about Isabella Lady Trent and the beginnings of her career as the world's premier dragon naturalist, from her curious early childhood years through to her first research expedition as a young woman. I absolutely adore Isabella. She's kind of a maverick of her time, breaking into academia when women are supposed to raise children and run the house. She is smart, adventurous, resourceful, curious, and strangely pragmatic along with the adventurous part. And she faces down every single gender-related obstacle in her way with all of the grace and stubbornness in her being. I thought the world building was quite good. The places felt real to me. This book has everything: danger, science, romance, feminism, mythical creatures. It was virtually impossible for me to put this book down until it was finished. I did not realize this when I bought it, but this is the first of 5 books called The Memoirs of Lady Trent. So if this interests you, I urge you to check it out. So that is it for my favorite books of 2018. If you enjoyed this video, please like and leave a comment below. If you really enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button and I will see you in the next video.